so much for joining me this evening for this program. I'm real excited to bring this to you because the census data is there for everybody. And I think a lot of us forget that it's there. And also, how do you get to it? How do you use it? What do you do with it? And all that good stuff. So we've got Ileana Serrano with us tonight, who's going to get into that in just a minute. I'm Diane Malik. I'm the Business Services Advisor here at Arlington Heights Memorial Library. And this is, in a sense, the first of two parts. Ileana is going to be coming back actually in a month on March 21st to talk in depth and to have just a program just about the Census Business Builder that is part of what the census has. So to get a little bit more into that stuff, March 21st, please join us then. It will also be on Zoom like this. But tonight it's going to be more general. Your community by the numbers, I think, is what we've titled this one, because it's not just focusing on one thing. But I want to tell you about one other program on March 1st coming up. It's called Finding the Best Brick and Mortar Location. So if you or somebody that you know is considering a brick and mortar location for a business, this would be the thing for you then. You're going to learn about the main leasing, operational, and legal considerations for a small business that's looking to lease, to buy, to relocate a business. And we're going to have some experts there in that area to talk on that topic. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. Okay, so with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Ileana, who can get us started.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. Diane, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, and the presentation?
Yes.
Great. So I want to thank you again for allowing me to come into your home, your time, and sharing with you what the Census Bureau has in terms of data tools, and also the services that are available to you 24/7. And some of the services that we provide as data dissemination specialists, which are at no cost to you. I'm sorry you cannot see my face tonight. I am having problems with my camera, so I do have it turned off because it just comes across very blurry, highly pixelated. It just like makes me look really horrible. Okay, so I just have it off for the moment, but I'm going to walk you through a lot of information and demo for you a couple of tools. And like Diane said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we will do our best to get to all the questions for tonight. So this is an image of me so that you have some idea of who's talking to you. And I am a data dissemination specialist for the Census Bureau, and I cover Illinois and Indiana in terms of providing Census Bureau data support to our data users in those two states. I've been with the Census Bureau for over 30 years. I've been through several decennial censuses in different capacities, so it has been my privilege to see a decennial carried out in the field, carried out behind the scenes, and then bringing it forward in regards to the partnership part of the decennial census. But today, I've moved on from that field experience, and today I'm going to be bringing you the data, the knowledge that is gathered from these decennial censuses. So I am part of the data dissemination branch at headquarters, and Diane will put the link to our Census Academy in the chat so that you can look at this later. But basically what our group does is all the information and the tools that the Census Bureau has and creates, we bring those to you, be they virtually like tonight, or we do have in-person events that we do, such as conferences and or workshops for your organization. We are also part of the team that creates our little data gems that are very succinct, if you will, how-to videos to get you going, to give you a refresher, or even to learn a different method, if you will, on using our tools and our data. And of course, we do offer and participate in our national webinars that we put on every month. And if you go to census.gov under Census Academy, you can look at the upcoming webinars that we have, and or even view our recorded webinars that we have archived. And available to you is the PowerPoint deck, the transcription, as well as the video recording. So we have a whole bunch of information at your fingertips that you can access any day, any time. So what we're going to do today is, hopefully, well, this is my objective, is to impart to you basically learning the differences between the data that is produced at the Census Bureau. We have decennial data that comes out every 10 years. We have data that comes from our programs, and we have data that comes from our surveys, okay? I want to also point you to resources that are available for you so that either you can learn on your own or just be knowledgeable in terms of where you can go to get additional information on a particular survey, program, or decennial operation, if you will. I also want to point out where the tools are housed, and I will demo a few, but you'll learn the different kinds of tools that we have so that you can access this data. Okay, some of them you do need a little walkthrough, like the one that we're going to demo tonight, but others are kind of like self-explanatory. You can walk yourself through it. And then also we are going to view, if time's allowed, and I think we will, two different data tools. Quick Facts, so you can get really fast information, basic information, and also our premier data extract or data access tool, the data.census.gov, or DCG as we like to call it. Okay, let's see. All right, so what's it going to look like? Well, I'm going to give you a recap of the decennial census and the data that it produces. I'll introduce you briefly into our population estimates program, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail of the American Community Survey, which is basically the data that gives you information on your community. And this is the one that a lot of people come to us for information on, because it is the only survey that gives you the characteristics of a place. And by place, we mean towns and villages and lower level geographies, which no one else has. They come into our site and they access the data, repackage it, and put it out there as, you know, part of their package. So again, the two demos that we're going to look at tonight is Quick Facts and DCG. Okay, so first thing is a recap on the decennial census. We all know, and this is where it starts, with the head count, official head count, every 10 years, and it is mandated by the Constitution that we do this since 1790, that we do this every 10 years. Why do we do this? A couple of different reasons. We do it because, number one, we need to know how many people live in the US and its territories. We also need it for apportionment, which is basically the process to allocate congressional representation on states for states based on their population. And because these congressional seats, they kind of change every 10 years. Some states lose seats, some states gain seats. Then what happens is we have to do legislative redistricting. Okay, so primary is to know for congressional apportionment. Then we've got legislative redistricting, because these new congressional areas have to be redrawn And then that district is the representative's domain, if you will. And also our data is used by many federal and private programs. And on the federal side, it is used for distribution of, on the screen, it's got $675 billion annually that is distributed to the nation. That number is set to change, but we don't have the particular number yet, but it has gone up. So a lot of importance is placed on these numbers that come out every 10 years. But then what happens in between the decennial censuses? What happens in, say, 2025? How do I know what my jurisdiction, what my community, what my place, how do I know the current population? Well, that comes about from the population estimates program. Okay, this program is used also in a lot of other funding formulas, and agencies do need current official numbers to base their program usage and distribution, if you will. So the population estimates program releases these updates every 10 years, and therefore it becomes the official number in between decennial censuses. Okay, and the program produces very up-to-date population numbers, okay, that will be used as official numbers or a base, if you will, for lots of decisions and lots of distributions. And there are limitations to how drill down you can go with the numbers. For instance, decennial census, you can get those numbers down to the block level. With the population estimates, we don't go down that far. We we release it for the nation, the states, metro areas, counties, and incorporated places, meaning villages, towns, any jurisdiction that has a functioning governmental unit. So you have that, and then it doesn't give all the characteristics of the housing data that decennial produces, but you do get housing totals at the national and the state level. And the data is released on a flow basis. So on the right hand side, you see the little schedule. We released the national numbers back in December. Next month, we are releasing the county and metro micropolitan areas. And this is another time, if you will, where the Census Bureau comes up in the media a lot, these county data, because a lot of stories come out around the growth or the transition and the mobility and so on and so forth. That kind of news coverage comes from these numbers. So in May, we will release the cities and towns or the places, and then the housing numbers come out. And in June, we have the demographics, a little bit more detail other than just the numbers. Okay, so that's forward. But what we're going to concentrate today is on the American Community Survey. You want to know why? You're probably wondering, why is this so important? Well, the American Community Survey is the only survey that releases annual data, not only demographics, excuse me, which is mostly the decennial data, but it also gives us the characteristics of that population. So what am I talking about? Okay, well, in the decennial, if you participated and you saw the questionnaire or you answered online, there were only about 6 questions that were asked, which is who lives there, the relationship, the birth year, birth date, race, Hispanic origin, and then a couple of housing questions. That's it. That's the only thing that the decennial census asks. Those are basic demographics. But with the American Community Survey, we ask a lot more detailed questions. And this goes back The newer annual releases go back to 2005 when the ACS came into being. Prior to this, you would only be able to get characteristics of a certain population group or geographic area, like a place or a township. You can only get that every 10 years. So think about it. So by the time you hit mid-decade, if there's a lot of movement, either, attrition or growth, that data is stale because it's coming to you every 10 years. Well, now with the ACS, you have these annual releases that you can get pretty good information on the characteristics of a certain geography, if you will. Like I said, it asks a lot of questions. It covers about 40 topics, if not more. And this is where you will hear in the news, the educational attainment of certain places or the housing dynamics of a certain place. So it comes out mostly those characteristics type data from this survey. Now, something that happens with the media covering, I should say, census data releases is that sometimes, a good chunk of the time, they don't quote the right program or survey, or they don't quote it at all. They just say, according to the Census Bureau. Hence, people get confused because we do 3 censuses, okay? The decennial, every 10 years. Then we have the economic census, which is going on right now. And we have the census of governments. 3 censuses we do. The econ and the census of governments, we do them every 5 years in the years ending 2 and 7. And you might be thinking, well, if it's going on right now, it's 2023. Why are you calling it 2022? Well, we started it back in 2022, notifying the large corporations and such. And then the letters to the other businesses went out in January. So we are now in the process of collecting the economic data. And we do this to measure and keep tabs on the economic health of the nation, right? So the benefit of this is the companies and corporations participate, and you have access to that data, not their names, where they're at, and so on and so forth, but the data of that industry, that sector, so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is that if people are using a specific data from the Census Bureau, they should quote the particular program, survey, or census, because sometimes when we get questions, well, I want to know where they got this information. I'm a fact checker. Where did they get this information? Well, if they don't quote you correctly, you could be looking all over the census website for that piece of information. Okay, so learning where the data comes from is very important to getting that information, understanding that information. So ACS, we've got those annual releases, and Diane can put the link on in the chat so you have access to the website on census.gov. Okay, so we release 2 data sets on an annual basis, a 1-year in September and a 5-year in December. We also have a 1-year supplemental that is released in October, and I'll kind of explain that in a moment. But this is how you get your current data, your characteristics data from the ACS. And this is basically a survey that goes out to about 3.5 million addresses a year, which translates into about, I believe they say 1 in 38 or 1 in 39 houses will get the survey. So not everybody will get it. It is a sample that is selected from the master address file. The questionnaire, actually the letter of invitation, goes to your house. We don't target anybody. It's the house or the housing unit that is selected. So the letter goes out to dear current resident, right? Or current resident. But in that letter, it will have an explanation of the survey, the purpose, the title, the authority, and it will have a link to an on-site response area that you create your personal PIN, so only you have access to that information. And then once you answer the questionnaires and it's transmitted, that's it. It's sealed. It cannot be retrieved. Okay. And only the statisticians have access to that information. When we compile the data on these releases, all the personal information that could identify you is removed from your responses. And all of that information is aggregated with all the other responses. And it goes through several reviews. The Disclosure Review Board looks at it to make sure that we do not jeopardize the identity of any of our respondents. And then it's checked for accuracy. And then it's released in either September or October or December. And then there's another one for the public use microdata file that comes in later. But there are strict protocols that are followed and protections that we have to look at to make sure that we're giving you quality data and we're not jeopardizing our respondents. Okay, so what are these two releases and why do we do them that way? Well, bunch of different reasons, but basically the first release of the year is the 1 year data set, which basically gives data to large geographies. What do I mean by large geographies? You're looking at cities and towns like New York, Dallas, LA, Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, the places that are 65,000 and over. But it's not just places. You're looking at counties that are 65,000 and over, because in some of our more rural states, we have counties that are below that 65,000. So they don't get a 1 year data set. They get a 5 year data set. And what do we mean? These are period estimates. And so the 1 year means exactly that. It is 1 year from January to December where we collect the data. Okay. And so for large geographies, anything that is 65,000 and over, they will get a 1 year. The 5 year estimate basically is released for all geographies. If there's a place in Illinois that is 563 people, it will get a 5 year estimate, as well as places like Arlington Heights or Mount Prospect or Buffalo Grove. They get a 5 year estimate because they're all below 65,000. And it is exactly that. Again, since it's a period estimate, it is 5 years or 60 months worth of data that's aggregated and then tabulated. Okay, so the difference between the two, and this is a mistake that a lot of people make when they come into the tool to start accessing the data. They know for sure that their place file has the data, but when they put in their parameters, nothing shows up. And again, it's one of those things that you have to look and make sure that you've got the right year selected. Okay. So what's covered in the ACS? What can you get? Why is it so important and so in demand? The information from the questionnaire, which you can look at when you go to the ACS website on census.gov, there is a copy of the questionnaire that you can look at and see what it is that is being asked, okay? But it's broken down into two groups: population questions or housing questions. Under population, you've got ancestry, you've got marital status, you've got migration by ways of, did you live here a year ago, or did you move from a different county, so on and so forth. So you've got a lot of information. School enrollment, the children in Arlington Heights, where are they registered? Where do they go to school? A private school, a vocational school, a public school, a charter school. you can get that information there, from the ACS. It also has the basic demographic questions, the same that are asked on the decennial census, which is age, Hispanic origin, race, relationship, and sex. Economic data you can get. Okay, so you can get a nice picture of Arlington Heights. You can get information on the class of worker, the employment status. By that, we mean, are you employed or unemployed? Okay, those that are receiving public assistance, like the SNAP program. Those that under health insurance, is it under a private purchase, through the exchange, through an employer? Is it public insurance? So on and so forth. So a lot of economic data that you can get from that survey, as well as the housing questions. Okay, you can get home value. Now that one you're going to have to take with a grain of salt, because the home value is not real estate value. It is what the respondent perceives his home to be worth. Okay, so a lot of stuff is taken into consideration when we ask that question. We don't challenge it, we don't correct it. The question is very straightforward. How much do you think your home is worth today? Okay, so if the homeowner is thinking, well, I just remodeled the kitchen and I put in a deck and then I have new, vinyl windows, they're putting all these costs together and coming up with a total. Now you get a realtor to come to your house and give you an evaluation, and it may be totally different. So that's why I say home value is an approximation, because it is what the homeowner tells you. But you can get information or feel for the rent that is being asked and people are paying in Arlington Heights. You can look at the computer and internet use. And this is kind of an interesting subject, because a lot of people think everybody in today's age, we've all got iPhones, or tablets or laptops. However, you may have a phone, but only have, cellular service, not internet service. And that has limitations, right? So this is what I mean with the housing questions. You can get a lot of insights, okay, into what's going on in Arlington Heights. So going into demo mode right now, I just want to show you that we have a lot of programs, a lot of surveys that collect data, okay, that you have access to by going to census.gov and looking at the surveys that we have and kind of self-educating. But if you have any questions or you'd like a walkthrough, you can contact us and we will help you out there, okay? We also have, as much as we have censuses and surveys and data, we have tools, okay? And you have the link for Census Academy, which is the perfect place to go and get some refreshers or some insights into the data and the tools. But this is also where you can go to request help, okay, for whatever it is that you are curious about. And we have a lot of visualizations, which, if you will, previous to all this technology, they used to be called what? Flyers. Okay, well, now they're visualizations. But we also have interactive visualizations and interactive maps that let you interact with the data, okay, and the geography. So there's a lot of stuff that you can explore on census.gov. But right now, what we're going to do is, what I leave you with actually is, if you're, after everything, you think there's just so much, how do I know who has my data or the geography that I'm looking for? We have a tool that's called Census Survey Explorer. And this will help you weed out all of these information that is not relevant to your particular topic or geography. Okay, so you can use this tool and type in a keyword in regards to your search, your topic of interest, or come in here and select a topic and or geography, and it will display a list of all the surveys that fit into that criteria, right? So now from there, I am going to go to data.census.gov. Can everybody see the screen where it's got the census landing page?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, great, thank you. And so this is going to be your launching pad, if you will, to any and everything that we have online. Your resource library, surveys and programs. This tab here in the middle is where I want you to go to learn about all the different surveys and programs that produce data that you might be interested in, or you may want to explore further or put into use. This is not an exhaustive list that you're seeing right here. For the full list, you come over to the left and click that link, and it will give you a complete list. But any of these are active links that you can go to, and this is the one that we're going to be working with. The data that we're going to be working with is the ACS, or American Community Survey. We're going to access the tool or the tools, because we do have a lot, under data and maps. And then also I want to draw your attention to Census Academy, which is there as well. This is your entry point. Okay. So what we're going to go and look at today is, real quickly, from the landing page, you need some really fast data. On the left-hand side, you have quick facts. Real simple tool, just click on it. Real simple tool you can use to look at a profile of your community or your community of interest, whatever. The caveat is, for this tool, the place has to have 5,000 people or more. Anything smaller than that, you'll need to use DCG. But basically, a state, a county, city, town, or place. It's got zip code here, but I think the only place that I found that has zip code data using this tool is some zip codes in New York. Haven't been lucky finding zip codes in Chicago, but I know New York has. I mean, one block is its own zip code, so, or one building is its own zip code. So be cautious when looking for zip code data in this tool. In DCG, you can get it. But we can enter, for instance, I'm just going to go and type in, and it brings up an associated list. And then from there, you can pick the one of your choice. We're going to go to Arlington Heights. All right, and it pops it in right away. Now, the default is the US. You don't need to keep it. You can take it out. Just click on the X. And what's good about this tool is that you can compare 6 different areas all in one shot. So I'm comparing Arlington Heights to, let's see if I can get Mount Prospect.
I think you have to spell out Mount.
Mount, okay.
Mhm.
And there it is. Okay, and let's do Wheeling. Okay, and so on and so forth. And I can do up to 6 for comparisons. And right off the top, population is the default. Okay, it's the first one on the list. And we haven't released the population estimates yet. Therefore, you've got this NA symbol. Any of those symbols that you are not familiar with, you can come down to the bottom of the report and you have a legend. Down here, we'll give you the explanations, okay? But what's good about this tool is that these little eyes are the quick info to what you're looking at, okay? So if we're looking at the estimate, this one, it gives you a background, okay? So you have a little bit of insight into what's going on here. And so you've got a complete profile. Most of it is percentages that are reading out, but some of them are numbers. And as you scroll down, you can look at the different cohorts. So you've got your population cohort, census 2020, census 2010, a little base of comparison. You've got your age and sex cohort, race and Hispanic origin. Okay, keep coming down. You've got characteristics in terms of veterans or foreign born. You've got housing characteristics that are plotted out for you. Household dynamics, okay, the living arrangements. Here you have computer and internet use, education, okay, in terms of degrees or where you're attending at the moment. Health information, you've got economic data, some economy, I should say, not economic, but data on the economy of your place of interest. Transportation, income, and poverty, and some limited because not all of these are available at the place level. You've got some business data, veteran-owned employers, non-minority, men-owned firms. Okay, some really nice, and then some geography data to boot. So this is a real good tool to use to get you, excuse me, a fairly decent profile on your areas of interest. Different things you can do with the tool. You can bubble up, if you will, a particular data point. For instance, I want to look at the population 65 and over. I know that's in the age and sex, so I come over here, select my data point. It shoots it to the top and it highlights it, if you will, in its particular cohort. Some people look at it and say, yeah, but that's still too busy. It's got a lot of other data I'm not really interested in. Well, here's my age and sex cohort, right? So I can go to the topics tab, bring it down, select age and sex, and now the tool puts away everything or suppresses everything except that age cohort that you're interested in. Okay. What else you can do with this tool? On the upper right hand side under this is the fun one for me. You click on the dashboard and let's say we're going to highlight Arlington Heights. You're going to see 3 different perspectives. Number one, it is still retaining the variable or the data point that we selected, person 65 and over, but it's giving you a geography, okay, a representation, and it's also highlighting Wheeling and Prospect Heights or Mount Prospect because that's what we were comparing, all right? And you've got your table view, you've got your geography, so you can put it into context, and down over at the bottom, you've got a chart, okay? And this chart compares your variable, meaning your data point, person 65 and over, to every place in Illinois. So if, for instance, you're wondering, am I living in a place that has too many people 65 and over? You can glance down these and you can see, well, Burr Ridge has a higher percentage. Keep going down. You can see Chillicothe has a pretty high. These little outliers will give you indicators of where you stand with, or your village, your place, stands up against the other places in Illinois, okay? And the list is extensive. It goes all the way down, all the way down. So, but if you say this is too much and you're only interested in your data, you also have that capacity by coming over to the chart mode and clicking on your selected locations. And it just recharts everything. You go to the dashboard, click Arlington Heights again, and once it does its thing, little gears are still working. Your chart, you know, will also recalculate, if you will, by sticking to your selected topics. And this also, this map will allow you to add additional geographies if you wanted to do additional comparisons. Okay, and when you go back to your table up at the top, the blue ribbon, there are your new additions. Okay, so different little things that you can do with this. And then if you go to the last icon, that little widget, you can embed, you can print, you can, you know, email the link to this tool or the data that you're looking at. So there are lots of different things that you can do. And this will give you real quick information on a particular geography, if you will, that's 65,000 and over. Okay, and I think Diane is going to pop the link to this tool in the chat box so you can get at it directly. Okay, so now I am going to click on the icon on the upper left that says US Census, and that's going to take me right back to the beginning, and we're going to transition to DCG. So I hover over the data and maps, come over on the left side, and I'm going to click explore data. Okay, this tool, most of our tools are as easy as the one that you just saw, but this one needs a little bit of a walkthrough. Okay, so two different ways you can use this tool. You can use the simple search. This is what we call simple search, and you can activate the microphone and speak your request, and it will bring back results. Or if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can click on the advanced search. So I'm going to look for information regarding Arlington Heights, right? And let's try spelling correctly. Here we go, Arlington Heights. So didn't give it anything else other than just bring back what you have on Arlington Heights. Kind of like a Google search. It's letting me know here high level information. Usually it defaults to population, but it's telling me right off the bat there are 3,096 tables that have data regarding Arlington Heights. And there are ways that you can reduce that number by coming over and on the left-hand side playing with the filters. Okay, the more selections you have here, geography, survey, or topics, or even years, it will reduce the amount of data tables that you will be looking at. But what I wanted to show you is we saw a kind of a profile using quick facts that gave you very fast data. This profile on the left, right-hand side, I should say, come down over where it says view profile, will give you a more comprehensive view of what Arlington Heights looks like. It does provide a geography for you so you can see where that place sits in relation to its neighboring communities. And it's taking a moment to load the data because it is a lot that is bringing forward to you, and it's bringing it in different formats. By that, I mean, you're going to be able to look at it in table format, in chart, or graphs, so on and so forth. But it opens up with the most popular categories that most people demand and or ask for in their profiles, and that it contain population, about information on population and people, employment, family living arrangements, income and poverty, housing, race and ethnicity, education, and health. Okay, so you've got high level data there, but also you have the data source and the table ID. So if you wanted just to drill into income and poverty for Arlington Heights, you can click on that table and it will give you a subject table that's dealing strictly with the characteristics of income and poverty for Arlington Heights. I'm not going to go into it right now because it takes a little bit to load, and it will, as we come down, it will delay the view that you're going to get here. But again, here you're getting a profile. You've got people and population. You're getting high level data as well as particular. And these are the little interactive charts that we have. This one, if you notice, down at the bottom, it's bringing 2020 ACS data. Why? If we have already released 2021, because this particular release, we didn't have 2021 year because of the pandemic, but this one has these particular age breakouts, okay, and these particular groupings. So it helps with the illustration, if you will. Okay, as you go down, you're getting ancestry. So you can see the nationalities that the residents of Arlington Heights identify with. And this again comes down at the bottom. You can look at the source. Okay. And this is one part that hasn't been released yet from 2020. It will be forthcoming this spring, but for now, you can use the ACS to get at that kind of detailed information. Languages spoken at home. Okay, you have that information there. Native or foreign born, older population, and if you look here, you have particular breakouts: over 85, 75 to 84, 65 to 74. Okay, keep coming down. You have residential mobility, you've got veterans information, income and poverty is going to take a little bit to load. But I think you get my gist. As you peruse this profile, it's giving you very particular information, okay, on your village. So you keep going, keep going. There's a lot of information you can get right off of this profile. But say you're of the nature that you want to drill down, you know exactly what you want. You don't need the profile. You want this particular topic, this particular geography. You can do that with the tool. Again, I'm going to go up to my link where it's got, actually, I'm just going to use the back arrow. But if you wanted to start clean, you certainly can do it. Okay. So I'm going to go to the left where it says the filters. And right now, the only thing that we told the tool we wanted was the geography, Arlington Heights. If I clear that, okay, clear your search, you're going to start with a fresh blank screen. And if you know exactly what you want, you're going to need 3 pieces of information to get access at the data. You're going to need your geography, you're going to need your topic, and you have to have a time reference in mind. Most of the time, people come in and they ask, I want the most current information that you have on income and poverty for my community, right? So you start here. Geography, we're going to look at it again, particular to Arlington Heights. And that's a village, a city, a town, or place. You click on the panels that you see are the most requested geographies. So here you see zip code tabulation area. Do not confuse that with what's right here, the 5-digit zip code. Most people, if they're not familiar with census, the way census distributes the data or uses the geography, I should say, you have tabulation area, zip code. This 5-digit zip code is only going to bring back to you economic data. The tabulation data is going to bring back demographics and characteristics type data. Okay, so you can go down to the block. The only program that brings back block level data is decennial census. So with decennial census, you can really drill down and do an analysis on a block by block basis for a particular tract or neighborhood or place, if you so wish it. But we're going to go to place. It's going to ask you, what state is this place located? In Illinois. It's going to bring a whole list of places in Illinois. And if you're down at the bottom, like some of the W cities, you can type it in up here. But we're in Arlington, so you can start typing, or if you don't, you can come down and scroll since it's kind of near. Arlington Heights, check it off. So your geography is set. And the tool is keeping track of it up at the left side. It's keeping track of what you're telling it to look for. So it knows the geography. So now I want a topic. What am I looking for? I said I want income and poverty data. We can look at that. Or if you're looking at housing, which I find very interesting, you've got all of these selections. And the difference between the folders and the boxes are if you select or check off a box, that's your final selection. You don't get any other choices. But if you go into, let's say, the financial characteristics, look at what you can look at in terms of detailed data for the Village of Arlington Heights. You can look at housing value and purchase price, insurance, utility, and other fees, the cost, mortgage, real estate taxes, or renters. Let's look at renter costs. Okay, so we have our topic. Up here, you've got your geography and your topic. And say, I want the most current information that I have that the survey provides, then you can come down to the year. It brings back what's available. And 2021 was our latest ACS release. So I want that. So basically what I told the tool is suppress everything that you have, but bring back just these 3 points, data on these 3 points. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this middle panel to give me a better view. And here I have my search results. These are all different tables that I can explore. In the first one, it always bubbles up to the top what it is, what the tool thinks that you're interested in and the most relevant. So we're going to look at gross rent. Okay, click on that. And you still have all your selections here that if that one doesn't work out, you can move on. But for the purpose of viewing the table better, I'm going to click these little chevrons up here and close it out. Okay, so here's my table view on median gross rent by bedrooms in Arlington Heights Village. Okay, based on 4 bedrooms, we don't have that data yet, but on 3 bedrooms, 1,852 is the average. Okay, now the thing I want to give you a heads up on is this little thing that's called a margin of error. You're going to see this in every data table that is produced from the American Community Survey or any of our other sample surveys, because this is a sample survey, meaning that not everybody gets to participate in the survey, like the decennial. So when you look at decennial data, you don't see an MOE because everybody got the same questionnaire, everybody answered, we just compiled the data. But because ACS only a percentage, was it 3.5 million addresses a year, okay, we have this margin of error. And what that means is it's basically, since it's a sample, we are prone to oversample certain population groups or rural areas, and there are errors and assumptions and so on and so forth, that it basically is telling you it is a measure of uncertainty. But the Census Bureau doesn't release anything that is at a very low confidence interval. So with the ACS, you're looking at 90% confidence that the number that we are displaying here for you, we are 90% sure it's true. But because there's that 10%, you have your margin of error that is telling you this total 1,452 can be plus or minus 122. To be certain, it could be high, it could be low, but right in between, this is where we think that number is. Okay, so we always let you know what it looks like, because if you think for whatever purposes this MOE is kind of high, then there are other alternatives for you. But basically with the ACS, 90%, and then also depending on the data set that you use, the 1 year is very good at currency, meaning that you get very current data, but the MOE tends to be a little unstable. But you have the choice of coming down and selecting your 5-year estimate, which the MOE is a lot more stable, okay, with the 5-year estimate. So see the difference, the numbers, but the MOEs are better. And this is through all the data sets from ACS. Now, that's the data table. There are certain things you can do with it. If you just want a real clean table and it's something little like this, you can suppress the margin of error and you've got a nice list, and you can also transpose to go across, but in a table that looks like this, you can transpose and make it a list or tabular display. It's easier for printing purposes, if you will. With this tool, I wouldn't suggest using the print feature here because we don't have like a PDF kind of print. What it does is basically a screen capture. So whatever you see when you print it, it's going to, excuse me, show you a display of basically a couple of columns of what you're seeing, and only the first page, because the second page is all table notes. So if your table runs more to the right and more, excuse me, has a lot of data below it, it's not going to. So we don't advise that. However, you can download it to an Excel spreadsheet. It's up here. Sometimes it comes on the lower left. You open it up and you're getting your display. Now, let me see if I can move it. Basically, you're going to get a 2-tab spreadsheet. The first tab is giving you information on what you're printing, what you're looking at, the data source, so on and so forth. But when you click the data tab, here's your table. Okay, so you can do that with Excel, or if you want to import it to another software program, you can do a CSV. And for large volume downloads, you can zip the file. For instance, a lot of people who have ArcGIS, they'll come in and zip the data and then upload it to their GIS program. You can do that with this. Another neat thing you can do with this is you can map your variable. Okay, so if you wanted to highlight the 4-bedroom rent, estimated rent, you can click on your little map icon on the editable ribbon. And of course, we haven't selected a variable, so it's only bringing that. But you can click on your variable and then come down and select your data point. There's only one, so not good mapping to do, but you can. This is how you use this to map out different variables, what you want to highlight with the mapping feature. You could also change the layers. Okay, so if on this one you wanted to see track level data, which is a smaller collection, think of it this way. Arlington Heights, it was based on these collection of blocks that formed block groups, that formed tracks, that formed Arlington Heights in the county. And all of these geographies have different population and housing thresholds that make up that characteristic of that geography. So we were looking at place level. Now we're going to go to census tract. And Arlington Heights is somewhere around here, okay, in this area. And let's see, see if I find one that looks. Okay. And let's see. Let's look at this one. Okay. I can select that one and view the profile of that particular track. This is how granular you can do your analysis using this tool. Okay. So now the same way we had a profile on the entire village, now I'm getting a profile on just that particular tract. The geography hasn't loaded up yet, but you can go back up at the top and view your table for the data on that particular geography, if you didn't want just the program, the profile that was coming through. Okay, so at this time, Diane, I think we're at the top of the hour if we have questions.
There weren't any questions in the chat, but if anybody has something, please go ahead and stick it in there, or you can unmute and ask real quickly. Anybody?
Okay,
No?
so let me go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I'm sure a lot of people are having the same experience I am having, which is, you know, my head is spinning a little bit in a good way, and I really could see how I could go down quite a rabbit hole and just be looking just really going down so many different avenues, looking at all of this. It's really interesting.
It is, and that's why these are the different tools that are available to look at ACS data. We looked at Quick Facts, which is right here. We have a My Tribal Area. If you work with Native Americans, that tool specifically is for that group. Then you have this tool that is specific to congressional districts. So you don't have to go into DCG and select your geography and blah, blah, blah. You can get it all with this tool. And then we have On the Map, which is 2 different tools that give you weather events and for emergency management. And it gives you like workforce analysis. We did DCG, and here is Census Business Builder, which we will cover next month. Okay, but it's not that we stop here. We did these demos. Here are the resources that are available to you. And also you have us, okay? If you need another refresher, you've got data gems that you can look at. If you want a training for, say, a school or a business or a nonprofit, we're there for you that we can accommodate those requests as well. And if you need practice, all you have to do is go online and start messing with the tool, to put it lightly, and watch the webinars and the data gems, and they will get you. This was just a primer. There's no expectation that you're going to be a master at this. The point being is now you have an understanding of the different types of data that are available, the different types of tools, the resources that are available. And yes, it can be overwhelming, but with a little bit of practice and guidance, you can get there. And if you will, Diane, drop the evaluation questionnaire, please, in the chat. Yes. What I would appreciate from the audience is if you would use this questionnaire to provide your feedback in terms of what we're doing. Are we hitting the mark? Are we missing it all completely? Are you finding benefit or value to what we're doing? Because this is how we kind of based our trainings on, our presentations on, and how we take our education forward to you guys.
Well, I want to thank you, Ileana, for that. There's a lot of comments coming in about that it was a great program, helpful, valuable, beneficial, interesting, wonderful, all sorts of great words. And someone said they're excited to try it. I think that's how a lot of us feel. Also, just a reminder that the Census Business Builder will be March 21st. If you're interested, Ileana will be back for that. And you can find that, in the program calendar to register for that, if that's of interest to you. And this is being recorded, as I mentioned. Actually, I think I will stop recording now, even though let's see here. I'm going to stop recording. And